Even though when I take a moment to think about it, how simple this episode was, it was fun. This was a very fun episode of Dororo this week. Just to get right into it, it felt like the direction of this episode, like the director and everything, they wanted to make this more of a uplifting comedy. Even though there was obviously some serious moments, like especially the scene towards the end where the demon or slash ghoul had Haya choking Dororo. At the end of the day, though, that was the only major moment, like, that was really serious. Besides that, the overall tone of the episode was more of a comedic theme. It was just funny. Like, there was a lot of funny lines, funny scenes, and I think everybody that worked on this episode, at the very least, probably the writer of this episode to just the animators, they probably had a lot of fun, especially on that Dororo scene. When Dororo was just shocked when Hai's like, I don't want my body or whatever, I don't need you, I can just stay here. And you just see Dororo's face just like, what? Like, it's just an absolute shock. I think there was just so many great moments for this episode, and I think, like I said, the people that worked on this had a lot of fun. But let's get right into the main message of what this episode was. Even though there was comedy and it's simple, there is some underlying themes that this episode wanted to demonstrate to us, and that was the connection that Haya and Dororo have. Their relationship. Now, this is something that's been very important for the past few episodes. Actually, since the very beginning of the series, it's very important. And if we trace back to the beginning of the story and then now think about what's going on now, there's some very big differences with these two characters. Obviously, if we go back to the beginning, Haya wasn't someone that was able to properly communicate with any human being at all. He wasn't able to see, or he's still not able to see, but he wasn't able to hear, he wasn't able to speak, he wasn't able to really feel anything. So because of that, he couldn't really form any bonds with a human being. He couldn't really communicate or express himself. And after slowly gaining back his senses, we see how he's started to form somewhat of a bond with Dororo. And this episode is a perfect demonstration to how Haya is slowly integrating as a normal human being. Like, the whole head scene, where he puts his head up against someone he meets, someone new. For instance, like a horse, to the girl that was introduced in this episode. Even though it's funny, and it can lead to some misunderstandings, what you can really get from that is Haya learning what individual things are. He's interested in the world. See, when you think about it, Haya's never really been concerned about the world. He's never been concerned about what is out there. He doesn't care. The only thing he really has ever been driven about is taking down ghouls and demons, gaining back his body. And seeing how he was expressing himself throughout this episode, like, like I said, putting his head on the horse to, the girl, Dororo, and all that, to also him saying Dororo is very sad or very happy. What that showed is that he is actually observing the world around him. He is actually trying to figure out what is happening. For instance, who is who? Like, or like what's going on. Read their emotions. Read what's happening in the world. It's beautiful. And I like seeing humanity from Haya. It shows that he isn't just a monster, which the show wants us to start thinking he is. That's not what he just is. He does have a human side to him, a very gentle side to him. That's perfectly demonstrated throughout this episode. So it's beautiful. I love the theme of this episode. That's what it really wanted to show, is that there is a bond between those two characters, and it cannot easily be broken. Now, speaking of the conflict, so the conflict of this episode was a ghoul that can make everyone say the opposite of how they really feel. It's honestly a common thing you see in anime and manga. I've actually seen this concept quite a bit. It's always funny, though. It always gives me a good laugh, because it's funny to see characters just make a huge misunderstanding from when someone is saying something that is the opposite of what they really mean. It's funny. And so seeing Haya like, oh, I don't care about getting back my body. I don't care about traveling anymore. I want to stay here. And it's the opposite meaning. I'm just like, oh my god. It's funny hearing that from him uttering those words, because it's something we know for a fact he would never actually say. And then Haya and Dororo heard their conversation when Dororo's like, oh yeah, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you're gonna get married. I'm just like, this is just amusing. And I honestly thought, the way this episode was going, there was a possibility that that girl was going to join their party, like travel with them. I thought that was going to happen for a moment, and it didn't happen, which honestly is kind of sad, because I would like another character to journey with our main cast, but I still have to say, I love the way it concluded. But basically, once she put two and two together and realized that everybody was saying the opposite of what they meant, and she realized that Haya didn't really care about her or really want a relationship with her, she took it in stride. I actually have to give that girl that. She was someone that didn't get overly emotional, and she was someone that was willing to just move on. It's like, okay, he doesn't care about me, I'll move on, there's other fish in the sea. Which, by the way, I do think that her overall emotions of, like, kind of falling in love with another person was a little bit too quick. It's very clear from her character, the way it was, given characterization, that she's someone that's very quick to fall in love, but probably someone that could easily just give up on certain things. I really don't know how her relationship with that dude is going to last. I don't know if it's going to last long, but she is definitely someone that's very naive about relationships, and she quickly falls in love, and I don't think it's actually true traditional love that she has for people she wants to marry. But regardless of whatever, though, I am satisfied with this episode, and I think many can agree with me that it was a decent and enjoyable episode. The only things really to talk about, though, that I want to leave this off on is, I guess, Haya got his sword replaced, and it had to be purified, by the way. And I find it fascinating that the swordsmith instantly knew, and he's like, I need to purify this, and then he reforged it and made a new blade. Which, by the way, that kind of says a lot. So this means that killing demons and ghouls leaves curses behind, I'm assuming, on a blade. Which I'm assuming could make, eventually, a cursed blade. So, it's kind of scary. And I wonder what would have happened if Haya never actually, fixed his blade. If he would have kept using it, would have eventually, gained some form of entity, demonic entity, would have became a ghoul/demon. A lot of questions I have about that. Which, by the way, speaking of which, let's talk about the swordsmith. He isn't honestly necessarily important to this episode. Yes, he made the sword for Haya, but he isn't really that important. The only one important thing was something that was very, I guess it was wise. There was a lot of wisdom from his character and what he said to us as the audience. He wanted to create a sword that instead of being used to hurt people, it'd be a sword to cause people to not even want to fight to begin with. And when I took a moment to start thinking about this, I realized that this is something that is used in real life to this day. And I'm going to let you know it's easy to figure out, but in case you don't know, it's nuclear weapons. It's very apparent. That's kind of what maybe the writers was implying, was that, nuclear weapons is actually what causes wars to not happen in the first place nowadays. Because ever since the events of World War, with the introduction of the nuclear bomb, it's been apparent that the old ways of fighting is not the same. It's obsolete. You can't fight like that anymore because it would literally just, nobody wins in the end. Nobody would win. And I think that's kind of what's caused such a long period of peace. Even though there is obviously problems where there's not peace in this world, it's caused a long period of peace to where major countries are not going at each other. And honestly, it's just scary to think about how something like that was created, but it's still frightening with how much power something like that holds. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of incredible, that little words of wisdom, and it kind of just highlights some of the things that happen to this day and age on why we have this period like we do, of peace. But okay, I think I want to wrap up this video there. Like I said, it's a quick, easy episode. It's not really that long to discuss, and so I don't want to just drag it out and all that, but I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. Because for some reason, even if you click the subscribe button, you don't always get notified. So whenever you want to get notified whenever I upload a video, please click that bell icon down below. And this doesn't just go for me. This goes for all YouTubers on the platform. And so with that, Chibi out.